at Spain. Now, Spain is being held up in some circles as the model. The Spanish prime minister, as I'm sure we all know, he told Trump where to stick it on Iran. The New Statesman has profiled him now as a left-wing icon. Yanis, I know that in our private discussions, you've said that there was a lot of he was doing it for political reasons. Nonetheless, could this potentially be a model that we can, when there is this anti-war movement, which I'm sure is coming and about to storm the gates, call for, look to, emulate, adapt? What do you think, Grace? And then you, Jens.
Yeah, I mean, well, what you just said is really powerful, right? Which is that he's done a lot of this stuff for political reasons. What does that mean? It means that he knows that there is a mass organized base within Spanish society who were extremely pissed off about what went on in Gaza, extremely pissed off about the war in Iran, generally progressive on the economy, and that they are powerful enough as an electoral force to influence the decisions made by those at the very top of society. That's the situation we want. You know, we can't just expect to have amazing leaders who are always going to make the right decision without any pressure. The point is the pressure. The point is that they should feel under that pressure and therefore pushed to make those decisions. So I think that's actually, in some ways, a good example. It's not that we have to have wonderful, extremely left-wing leaders. It's that we have to have those political structures that can force them to act in the interests of the majority. And that's that important and kind of dialectical relationship, I guess, between parties and leaders and wider society. I actually wanted to speak a little bit to the point made by one of the commenters, which was, has the US launched this war in order to raise global oil prices? I've heard this a lot recently, both from people, often from Trump supporters, actually saying he's done this on purpose to screw over China, or, you know, he's done it to benefit US frackers, right? Either way, the idea is that it was intentional to raise oil prices. I don't think that you can read this conflict that way, because the immediate impact has been a huge crisis for Trump directly as a result of the affordability issues that are being caused by rising oil prices. Trump has been pincered by affordability for a long time. And then recently, obviously, Epstein has come in as well. I saw a poll today that said that about half of Americans think that he started this war to distract from the Epstein files. I'm not sure that the relationship is that direct, but what is very clear is that this, for him, I would say, is a kind of Thatcher Falklands moment, which is to say that he's launched a war to project strength at a point of weakness for him and his regime at home. And that domestic vulnerability is, I think, linked to, yes, Epstein, oligarchy, all of those issues, but also the affordability crisis, which has been going on for a very long time now. Before this war even started, I wrote a piece looking at what was really going on in the US economy. And there were a few stats that really stood out. The first was obviously that without AI investment, one Harvard economist estimated that US GDP would have grown by like 0.1%, that it was basically flat. The second was that 50% of consumption was accounted for by the top 10% of consumers. So the wealthy, the spending of the wealthy and the AI boom is basically keeping the economy afloat. And those two things are related because 10% of Americans own about 90% of the country's stock wealth. And that big boom in share prices has just made them feel wealthier. At the bottom end of the income spectrum, the stat was that around a third of Americans were spending more than they were earning every month and covering the difference with debt, that credit card debt has increased substantially, and all sorts of different indicators of financial distress were kind of flashing red even before this crisis. So the affordability issue, which Trump promised to solve, is still raging. Oligarchy is still alive and well. Inequality is getting worse. And he knows that. This week, they've just passed a bill banning real estate companies, big developers, from buying up individual family homes. And this was, again, part of his thing, an allegedly left-wing move, a kind of symbolic move to say we care about the affordability crisis. I honestly think the affordability crisis is, for Trump, one of the biggest things that he's worried about right now, just given where his base is at and given how betrayed they feel about the fact that things are getting more expensive and their lives keep getting worse. And for that reason, I don't actually think this was intentional. And I do therefore think it's something that we can mobilize on.
Thanks, Grace.
Yes,
was it intentional?
Yeah. Well, on Sanchez, he's doing the right thing, so we should applaud him. not necessarily celebrate him, but applaud him and support him. I wish I could agree with you, Grace, that he's doing it because he can see that there is a very well-organized movement under him. I don't think so. I think the movements in Spain have never been in a sorrier state than they are today. Spain is a country with a tradition of very strong movements, but this is not the best period of movements in Spain. What is happening in Spain is that, remember, Sanchez was never secure in parliament. He always had a minority government. More often than not, he's not managed to pass a budget. But the only reason why he doesn't fall is because of a peculiarity of the Spanish constitution, according to which the government doesn't have to pass a budget every year. If it doesn't pass a budget, then the last year's budget it simply rolls over automatically. If this was France or Germany, he would have fallen years ago. And what he sees, because he's extremely skilled as a tactician, this is how he's managed to stay for a decade in the role of prime minister without having a working majority in parliament. He can see that the right now is split because of the worldwide, at least Europe-wide rise of fascism. There is the Vox fascist party, which is Trumpist. And he can see that there is, that his main opponent, which is the Popular Party, the Conservative Party, which is an Atlanticist party, they're running around like headless chickens because they can't support Trump. They can't go against Atlanticism. They can't go against the United States. So essentially, he's egging them on, the rightists and the ultra-rightists, by taking this very good left-wing position, for which we applaud him and we should applaud him. And at the same time, he's forcing the Basques and the separatists in Catalonia to support him, even though they wouldn't have supported him otherwise because of tensions with the Social Democrats. So, he's playing a really very, very clever tactical game. I wish I could agree with you that this is because of the very powerful movements. I hope they come back.